Hello, creative friends. I'm Kimberly with My Victorian Heart, and I'd like to share a pretty French urn project with you using the IOD La Folie paint inlay. And this is one of those sweet, quick, easy projects that you can use smaller elements from a paint inlay on. The La Folie paint inlay has 8 full sheets with varied designs on them. And on the back of the cover, you can see some sample projects done by IOD artisans. They're really beautiful. So you just need a soft paintbrush, a clean, dry paintbrush, and I'm using the IOD silicone paint blade to help smooth out my paint inlay paper once I get it into the gel medium. And you'll need a spray mister bottle with water, some rubbing alcohol to clean your surface with where you want to apply your gel medium and paint inlay, and a container of clean water to clean out your paintbrush, and gel medium. I'm using golden gel medium. So now you want to take your sheet of borders from the paint inlay and decide which border you would like to use. So I'm going to use the pretty rose border that has like a cream white and red roses on it. And you just cut them out, and then you sort of fussy cut around them as much as you can so that they can lay more easily down on the urn when you apply them. And you'll also cut a second shorter length so that you have enough to wrap around. For example, my urn, I needed to do a second bit of length to get them to the ends to meet. So when you're using an IOD paint inlay with gel medium, you don't need to use a chalky based paint. You can apply the paint inlay using gel medium on a painted wood surface, a metal urn like I'm doing, and you know there's no need for paint with this. The paint inlay results happen rather quickly when using gel medium. The paint inlay color starts to transfer over onto your project within mere minutes. It's very quick. If you're using like a chalky based paint, it takes a little bit longer. So what I'm doing is I'm rubbing down with the IOD silicone paint blade to make sure that my IOD paint inlay paint is making really good contact with my gel medium on the surface of my urn. So this is very important. You have to make sure you have good contact so that all of your design will transfer onto your surface. And now I'm cutting because what happens is when you're wrapping around a long length of the border, it starts to kind of turn upwards and get off the band where I want it. So I have to cut it and then situate the next piece so that it doesn't go on too crooked or anything like that. So I'm lining it up, and I just chose to line up one of the little skinny green stems to the other green stems. So it's like putting together a little puzzle. It's very easy to do. And I'm just touching up with some gel medium to make sure a little rose up there gets applied. You have to make sure you have a good coat of gel medium or paint if you're using paint with a paint inlay. And I think I just was showing you how you have little areas, like on this urn it has a rustic kind of distressed finish, and it has sort of raised bumpy areas, and you really don't need to sand them for the paint inlay. If you were putting on a transfer, you would want to sand them and make them smooth, but the raised little raised bumpy areas don't really impair or impede application of a paint inlay. It just looks a little more natural and hand painted, in my opinion. So I have the long length that I had applied, and now I'm gonna see where I need to put that other piece so that it makes all the ends meet. And I'll figure out which way I want the border to lay and connect to the other ends. And I'm just gonna snip them off and get that applied to the urn. And just a good little coat of gel medium there to make sure it's on there good. And sometimes you have to kind of snip and fussy cut around edges and such to get things to lay nicely on curves. This urn has a nice, pretty flat band all the way around it, but some of the little roses in this border sort of drape over onto the curved part, and that's why I had to snip and cut to make them lay nicely over the curves. So now I'm cutting it. I have fitted it. I have fit the border. And now I'm just applying it and making sure it's good. And now I'll go around with my silicone paint blade and, gently but firmly make sure that the paint inlay is making good contact with my gel medium and the surface. So now I'm spraying my paint inlay, misting it with a little bit of water from the mister bottle, and then making the contact with the paint inlay. And I'm testing it just to show you how fairly quickly, really quickly, the results of this inlay happen with gel medium. You can see a lot of the color is already on the urn in the gel medium. So, I don't think it was even 10 minutes and I could already take these off. So you have to make sure you mist your paper, the paint inlay paper, with water, and then you can gently peel it back. And in this section of video, I did not speed up the track, so you could see how slowly I take my time to pull up the paper. If your paint inlay paper feels like it's tugging away or it's too hard to come off, you need to lay it back down and spritz it again and pat it with like a damp cloth and let it sit for a minute and then try to pull it up again. But here I'm doing good. I've got everything's coming up like roses. And I'll have all the paper pulled off here in a second. So as you can see, I'm giving this another spritz of water and rubbing with the brayer to make sure that the paint inlay transferred really well onto the gel. And now I'm pulling back up. And so now the the gel medium and paint Inlay, they need to dry. And if you see white gel medium all around the urn, along the edges, that is going to dry. The white color will dissipate. It will dry clear. If it is still wet enough for you to remove it with a wet cloth, that's fine to do. But I just leave it alone and I let it dry. Don't pick at it. Sometimes you may have a chunky area that made like a line, and you can sand that off. But just leave it alone, it'll dry. So now I'm doing the test. I wanted to show you how you can do a second use paint inlay. So the pieces I used on the urn, I have painted gel medium onto this paper mache cone that is painted in a base coat of white. And I had already used this piece of paint inlay on the urn. And so now I have put it into some gel medium on this paper mache cone to show you that you can use a second use paint inlay with gel medium. It works really well. And on the second test part, I'm using Pentart Decor Chalky Paint to put a second use paint inlay in that I also had used on the urn with gel medium. And I have done this before. I have used paint inlays second use with gel medium and with paint. And you'll see the result of both of these. But the gel medium second use paint inlay, the one on the top of the cone, that color turns out brighter and more brilliant. And you'll see that when I pull it up in a few minutes. And the paint inlay second use one that has the chalky paint under it, that one turned out a little paler. I mean, much paler actually. And I have had mixed results with these in the past, but is what I have learned is if you're going to use a second use paint inlay that you use gel medium with, then when you use it the second time, use it with gel medium. Your results are brighter. Okay? And if you use a second use paint inlay with, say, chalky paint, the result may be a little bit better than if it didn't have the gel on it. So I hope I'm explained that well. So I would say, if you're doing a second use paint inlay with gel medium and you're going to, use it again, use it with gel medium. And if you're using a second use paint inlay with paint, then I would use it with paint on the second use. Okay? As you can see, the result is really nice. Good color from the gel medium second use paint inlay. And here I'm drying the second use paint inlay piece that had the chalky decor paint. And that is important when you're using chalky decor or chalky type paints with a paint inlay. If you touch your paint inlay and it feels cool to the touch on the top, it's probably still needs to dry some more. So I took some heat to it to help move it along. And the color is pretty good on parts of this second use paint inlay that has the chalky paint under it. But where the cream white rose is, it's very faded. But it worked. So it's pretty shabby and pastel style, but I think it's pretty and it does work. And I put it back down to see if I could get some more stuff. I didn't think it was all ready yet. So I go back and pull it up in another couple of minutes. But I just wanted to show you that, this works and it can be done. And the results, vary between media. And I'm sorry, I'm a little tired. I'm doing this late at night. So while that sat and dried, I did a couple other things. Then I came back and I misted it and ready to pull it up again. And I have put my gloves on because we'll be doing spray sealer next on the urn. So as you can see, that is the result of a second use paint inlay that had been originally used with gel medium, and then it was put into chalky decor paint. And so now we are going to apply a 50-50 mixture of water-based matte sealer with water. And that's in a recycled spray bottle I have there. And I use Amy Howard's matte sealer. I use this on all of my decor pieces and mini craft projects. It's a really, good product. I like using it. So I mist all around on the paint inlay with the 50-50 spray sealer. And I am going to be doing 3 coats of this 50-50 spray sealer. I mean, 2 coats is probably fine. So here I'm doing my second coat. So you let it dry in between coats, or you can dry it with a heat gun like I do here. And I did go in and do a third coat. And so now that the third coat of 50-50 mix has dried, I'm going to brush the full strength matte sealer onto the paint inlays on the urns. And they're nice and dry and sealed under there. The paint inlay won't smear. It's nice and protected by the spraying that we did earlier. And you just need a nice little coat, nothing too heavy. And as you can see, all that old whitish thick gel medium that was on there is gone now. It dried clear. Now we're going to apply antique dark wax. This is actually Amy Howard's antique wax. I am randomly applying it with an old stencil brush on sort of like the trim and raised areas around the band of the paint inlay. And I will put this on the body of the urn just to sort of bring out the detail and age it a little more. This is a good dark decor wax. It's fabulous for furniture and different surfaces. I have used it for several years and I have good results with it. It cures nicely. It doesn't have a high odor, but sense of smell for different media is different for everybody. Some people may think something doesn't have a strong scent while others may not like it. It's just all relative to each of us. So I have taken a softer brush to wax larger areas and also to help blend out the wax in areas. And that's what I had that bigger brush for. And then I got the little brush again to do the little details on the rings and small areas. And I go in with a cloth and I wipe back the wax if it's too heavy in spots, things like that. And I thought the result was really pretty. This urn was already pre-painted in a distress aged sage green kind of color, which I love. And it has like some rusting and bronzing in it. And I thought it just needed a little bit of dark wax. And I thought that helped with the detail more. I was very happy with the result of the wax. And that's it. It's all done. And I hope you like it. It's just a simple, quick, easy decor project. And I think this urn will be pretty through all the seasons. It's elegant, it's classic, it has a beautiful French country style. I think this will also be very pretty stage for fall and for the Christmas holidays too. So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed this project. Make beautiful things.